Alright guys, what is going on? Oink here. In today's video I have a wheel comparison between the Logitech G27 and the Logitech Driving Force GT in relation to Gran Turismo. I have had the Driving Force GT for about a year now. It's the first wheel that I got, and I recently, just a few days ago, got the Logitech G27. So I'm going to be comparing the two, showing you the features from each, and what's good and bad about each of them. And maybe if you got some money from Christmas and you're thinking of picking one of these up for Gran Turismo, then hopefully this video can help you out. So we'll start off with the Driving Force GT. Just general overview. You can see it's got a lot of buttons on the face. Obviously the whole thing is based in one unit, with the sequential shifter on the side there built in, and all of the buttons right on the face there, including a PlayStation button there, which is pretty handy. Obviously this is the official wheel for Gran Turismo, so it's no question that it would have that. The paddle shifters are a little less interesting. They're just buttons on the back, which aren't the best, and it's mostly plastic. I mean, it feels okay, it's a decent build, but mostly plastic on the front there. The G27, then, you can immediately see has much less on the front face of the wheel, with just 3 buttons on either side, and no middle horn either. The whole thing is made of of leather on the actual wheel, and then sort of aluminium across the middle, and the shifters themselves are much larger faces, and again made of aluminium, and it's just got a much more classy build to it, a much classier feel. Most of the buttons are found on the shifter, and obviously the shifter is separated from the wheel as opposed to the Driving Force, which is actually attached right on there, and this does have not a PlayStation button like the other one does. The pedals on the Driving Force are again plastic. You just got the brake and accelerator there, and they got a carpet grip. Sadly they may or may not do, but from what I can see, they don't have obvious fixtures, so you can't screw it into anything, whereas the G27s do. And again, with the metal, they got that really nice metal pedals, and a lot more rigidity and stiffness in the pedals, so they really do feel a lot better, more resistance there, and definitely a much nicer set of pedals for the G27. In terms of noise, you can hear the Driving Force is quite noisy with the force feedback. The G27 is next to silent in comparison. You can barely hear it when it's spinning there, and really nice that it's a lot more quiet. In terms of gearing, then, the Driving Force GT is just sequential. So you've got the sequential shifter and you've got the paddles, but it's all semi-automatic, so there's no clutch control whatsoever. You can see here I'm in neutral there. Well, I'm in gear 1. There is no neutral. You can't go into neutral. The clutch is all done automatically, and you can just shift up 1 gear at a time, either using the paddle shifters or the sequential stick shifter, which is a little bit limiting. I mean, obviously it's much nicer than automatic, but you don't have any clutch control. On the G27, obviously, one of the main things about this is that it's got the the full clutch control and gear shifter, and you can go into neutral. You can accelerate. You can see me, I was just using the accelerator there, and obviously showing that the clutch was down, and so I wasn't going anywhere. And then as I lift the clutch up, the engine engages, and you can see here again, just demonstrating, I can just disengage the engine there by putting the clutch down, then let the clutch up. You can see the engine engages again, and it's got, as I said, full clutch control. So whilst the clutch is up, the car is effectively braking itself. As many of you know, when the engine's engaged, it will slow the car down, and when it's up, you can see it just rolls freely, loses very little speed. Put it into neutral. I can switch between first and sixth if I wanted. You can even stall the car. You can see the engine is actually fully turned off now because I've stalled. Even pushing the accelerator, you can see that does absolutely nothing. And to turn the engine back on, you will need to lift the clutch again to the biting point and hit the accelerator, and that will get the car back in action again. So there's so much more you can do with this. It really kind of takes the driving to the next level, brings features that you can't otherwise get on Gran Turismo, without a clutch wheel. So that is really, really nice, and again, like I said, one of the main features for the G27. In terms of dead zone, this is a big thing with wheels. So this is when you are going in a straight line, whether the force feedback starts pulling either sides. With the Driving Force, it has a bit of a problem with this. This is with my hands off the wheel, driving relatively quickly down a straight. You can see without actually holding onto the wheel, it starts kind of waving left to right quite quickly and quite vigorously. With the G27, it's not to say that it doesn't have any, but it's much less prominent. You can see it kind of just wiggles side to side ever so slightly, It doesn't make the car spin out, and it's definitely nowhere near as much as the Driving Force GT. But it does have a little bit, but because it's so small in comparison, if you do have your hands on the wheel, it's much less noticeable. Again, with your hands on the wheel with the Driving Force, you can really feel it, and you've almost got to try and hold it still sometimes. With that one, much less so. To quickly round up then with pros and cons, the Logitech Driving Force GT, we'll start with pros. First of all, this is obviously at a lower price point. It's almost half the amount as the G27. In pounds is 120. I'm sure you can convert that into your own currency. So it's a fair amount cheaper, and this is why I got this wheel first, last year, because it is a lot cheaper than sort of the more upmarket wheels there are. And it kind of really makes it good as a more of an entry level one. So if you're sort of thinking about it and you just want to have it maybe a bit for fun, or if you just want to start more getting into Gran Turismo and that sort of thing, then that's a really good choice, because you don't have to invest too much in it, and you're still getting a really good product and something that will really increase what you can get out of the game. As well as this, obviously, because it's the official Gran Turismo wheel, it's got that nice PlayStation functionality. You've got the PS button in the middle, and it's it's just quite nice to have, and it can come in handy. It's just a bit of convenience, and again, with convenience, all of the buttons there are on the face. You've even got the unique little wheel there. Gran Turismo's got some functionality for some in-race settings changes, which you can use with that wheel. You can keybind it on other wheels, but you've got that nice functionality there again, like I said, with that wheel. In terms of cons, the force feedback, as I showed earlier, is really kind of noisy. If you've got other people in the house, that might be a bit irritating, and just generally it's just frustrating, a little bit annoying having that loud feedback noise just when you're turning the wheel sharply, or even just a little bit. The pedals and the general feel of it is sort of lower quality. Again, it's all plastic, and it just feels a little less good. Again, with the wheels, they've got much less resistance, and again feel quite a little bit more flimsy, I guess you could say, even though they're not going to break, but compared with the G27, they do feel a lot sort of more lightweight. And obviously you've got none of that full manual clutch control. You've just got your sequential and your paddle shifters there, which is again, is still better than just driving an automatic, and it's nice to have the option of the shifter or the paddles, but with no full manual you are missing out on a fair amount there. In terms of the Logitech G27 then, we'll start with pros again. You got that really top quality material usage, and the pedals again feel really good with plenty of resistance, especially on the brake, and obviously the accelerator and clutch feel a little less resistant, and it just feels a lot more realistic and a lot more solid. Again, with the wheel, you've got that nice aluminium face, and the wheel itself is leather covered, and it just does feel a lot nicer when you're using it in your hands. Again, you've got that full clutch control and full manual, which is just so great and really adds a lot to the game. And the force feedback is quiet, and not only that, but it feels a lot smoother. It doesn't it's not quite as jagged, I guess, a feeling as the Driving Force GT, and it feels a lot smoother in your hands when you're driving it. In terms of cons, obviously it comes at a higher price tag. If you want to just dive straight in there, it's more to invest in a wheel, and maybe you want to start with something a little less because you're not sure if you really want the wheel, or you're not quite so serious about it. So that's obviously a major con. The buttons, again, a little less convenient because it's not designed just for PlayStation and that sort of thing. You've got no PlayStation functionality, and the buttons just you've only got a few on the face and the rest are on the shifter, so can be a little bit annoying there, but other than that, generally a really good quality wheel. To sum up them both then, as I said, one sort of the lower price point, more of a starter thing if you're a little bit unsure of whether you want it, or you're just not quite so serious about the game. I really recommend the Driving Force GT. As I said, I've had it for a year and I've had a lot of fun with it, and it's been really good in terms of getting into the game. But so far with the Logitech G27, it has just been a lot more quality feel, and just really having fun with it. So hope you have found this video useful, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.